Bourne movie. So apparently in the year 2016, we're going to be getting another Jason Bourne titled
What?
film.
2016.
And Matt Damon will be returning as Jason Bourne. What the backstory behind this is Matt
Wait,
Damon
wait a second.
originally...
Wait a second. Before you go on. Before you go on. This is going to tie in with the DC universe, right? This is one of those big plans, and Ben Affleck will play opposite him as Batman.
There you go. It'll be Batman against Jason Bourne.
Yes.
The
Because they're
super
doing
spy
Batman versus
against the
Superman.
rich
Now they're gonna
billionaire.
do Batman versus Batman's going to turn into the new Godzilla. It's just going to be every movie. It's just a versus movie.
Just
Batman versus
Batman
Godzilla,
versus
Batman
Batman.
Jason Bourne.
You know, that would be pretty cool. I would be down with a bunch of Batman versus movies. That would, just especially if we can get like just different characters from other universes. Like
Honestly,
Batman versus Godzilla would be an interesting movie because I bet you he'd figure out a way to bring him down.
Yeah, because he sets up some electrical lines in some way, but he has to he plan it out. Well, that's the kind of thing Batman would do.
He would do
right?
that. He would.
But this would make so much sense because we've talked about before. Most of the DC superhero movies fail miserably or mediocrely. They're whatever, but they're not that great except for the Batman franchise. But if it's all Batman, but Batman versus superhero or other hero, then it might work. You can get everyone in as long as you just make sure Batman's in it every time.
As long as Batman is the star of the show, as long as it goes Batman versus somebody else, you're good. So that's why it's Batman versus Superman, not Superman versus Batman. You know?
Exactly.
But yeah, so Matt Damon, he did walk away from the franchise a couple years ago after Bourne Supremacy, I believe it was, because he said he didn't want to do a Jason Bourne movie without director Paul Greengrass. And now Paul Greengrass was like, okay, we had fun with it, but I think I'm done with it for about now. So Matt Damon stayed true to his word. When they re-signed Paul Greengrass to direct the next one, Matt Damon signed up. So we are headed for another Bourne film. No word yet as into the story, but I could probably tell you what's going to happen. It's probably going to be about the same as the last three. Leave me alone. I don't want to be haunted by you guys anymore. Well, hey, you're a super spy who knows a lot of secrets. We need to get rid of you. Hey, you have a project called Treadstone. Stop it. Okay. I mean, and a lot of action ensues. Now, you don't watch the Bourne movies necessarily for the story. The first one, maybe. You watch it for the cool action and the cool spy action. So I did enjoy those movies for that. But you also had a Jeremy Renner version of Jason Bourne, but he was Aaron Cross or something. It kind of took place in between 2 and 3. While Jason Bourne was still running around and they were shutting down the Treadstone program, and it showed some of the other agents. But so my curiosity is, number one, are they going to get rid of Jeremy Renner's character? Because that was actually a pretty fun character in terms of the reboot of the series almost. Not really, but they kind of went a different road. And I don't know. I don't think you should totally get rid of Jeremy Renner's character
unless you want to make a kind of split ties and do this. Like it is several years later. We're on a 4th movie. Like you could argue that the first 3 are kind of a.
We're on the 5th movie because if you count Jeremy Renner's movie, this is the 5th.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't even remember that one coming out. Like, did that do well?
It was the Bourne Legacy. It didn't do great in box office, but like I said, I did see it. I did enjoy it. I thought it was fun. It was a different take on the Bourne franchise.
I feel like
that
must have done the worst of all the Bourne movies, though. So that also might be a reason to just cut anything from it.
Yeah, but I mean, again, it wasn't bad. It was actually very enjoyable. It just kind of gave you a different look at this whole Treadstone project. And the Treadstone project, if you don't know what that was, that in the Bourne films was pretty much the Super Soldier project. They showed you how they kind of made these guys, and they were using different like drugs and stuff to make them smarter and faster and more agile and stuff like that.
Captain America.
Yeah, like I said, it was a Super Soldier project. But in the Bourne Legacy, they showed another one of these so-called super soldiers other than Matt Damon, who was one of the first and arguably the best. But I would like to see maybe a team-up between those two, because Jeremy Renner is a good actor in terms of action flicks. He played in Mission Impossible 4, and I thought he was really good in that one. As Hawkeye, I have enjoyed seeing him as Hawkeye in the movies he's popped up as. So I wouldn't mind I wouldn't mind seeing those two guys come together. That'd be pretty cool. But it does
I
beg
kind
the
of
question.
imagine they would go a different direction though. At this point, return with a director returning, bringing back Matt Damon. How long has it been since Supremacy, or what was the third one? Supremacy or Ultimatum?
I believe it was Bourne Identity, Bourne Supremacy, and then Bourne Ultimatum. I think that's how it was, and then Bourne Legacy.
Yeah,
So,
but it's been
yeah.
at least 7
3
years?
No, it's not been more than 4 years. I don't think since that one came out. So I mean,
4
it's been a
years?
while. It hasn't been that long, 4 or 5 years at most. Because I want to say
Okay,
Legacy
well
came
then
out about 2
we
years
might
ago.
see some link up. I had thought that it had been longer since then, in which case you might try to really do a kind of cut with other stuff and take in a new direction, but.
Yeah. But you never know what's going to happen. But, it does beg the question, whereas I'm not opposed to seeing another Bourne movie, do we really need one? I mean, yeah, I do like the Super Spy, but are they trying to make a new James Bond franchise? Is that kind of what's going here? Because James Bond is a Super Spy that you can bring back time and time again, but that's more because he's fighting on the side of good and you have all these evil people popping back up. But Jason Bourne just seems to be always running from the government who keeps trying to track him down. So... Do we need another Jason Bourne?
See, the difference there, though, is something else that appeals to people. This idea of shady government activities and guy that opposes that role. Essentially, is opposing the shady government. That has a place too, but the question is, how often can you do it? Because if it's like you said, the same story over and over. It's the same story over and over.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Like I was gonna say, look, we also already have another James Bond in the Jack Ryan films, essentially.
Yeah, but they haven't really done too much with that. Now the Christopher.
Not in a little while, but they did
Agent.
a lot of movies of that, though.
Yeah, I mean they did the Shadow Agent, but that's a little more spread out. You don't really realize. A lot of the Jack Ryan movies are Jack Ryan movies.
Yeah, well, other than the fact that they have Jack Ryan, but they don't seem like a sequence.
Yeah, like Hunt for Red October, I believe that's a Jack Ryan movie. Sum of All Fears. There's Clear and Present Danger. I think Air Force One is where Jack Ryan becomes president or something like that.
Or defending the president.
No, I think Jack Ryan is president in Air Force One.
Really? Oh, I thought he was the guy tasked to recover the president from Air Force One in that movie.
Well, in the movie at least, I think he wasn't.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a while. Yeah, but they don't really advertise that. Like James Bond, you're watching James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
They don't quite brand it like that. And almost Jason Bourne, you're watching a Bourne film. Yeah, that's what you know. So I'd say it's almost a little different.
Did you know Indiana Jones was supposed to be essentially a rival to James Bond?
Yeah, he's
originally, it was how it came about was Steven Spielberg and George Lucas were sitting around, and Steven Spielberg said that he wanted to direct a James Bond movie sometime, and Lucas was like, "No, I got something better. I got a better character like that," and it was Indiana Jones. And honestly,
you know what? That would be pretty cool to see Steven Spielberg actually do a James Bond movie. I think he would do it very well.
Yeah, I think he's kind of satisfied with the Indiana Jones movies at this point because those were awesome movies.
No, I'm not hating on those movies.
But definitely, yeah. If he someday decided, hey, I'm going to do James Bond now.
I think he would do really good as a James Bond director. I think that'd be pretty cool, especially with Daniel Craig in there. That cast, that would be good for him. But
I feel like he would probably bring in another new actor. Being Spielberg.
So is another Bourne movie needed? Are you excited to see this? Should they team up with Jeremy Renner and Matt Damon? Let us know. Hit us up. Comments down below. Of course,
even better idea.
Face on Twitter. Huh?
Let us know down below.
Oh, that's what I say.
Either Batman versus
Batman versus Bourne. Batman versus Bourne.
Or James Bond versus Bourne.
I see. Or no, Batman versus James Bond versus Bourne.
Or
three-way death match.
And throw in some Jack Ryan.
Yeah, call it. Batman versus Bourne versus Jack Ryan versus who was the other one? James Bond. Yeah, four-way death match. Okay, hit us up. Let us know. Comments down below. Of course, at wordsmyface on Twitter, wordsmyface@gmail.com. I said I was going to stop saying that last week, but wordsmyface.com, Google Plus, and Facebook. Always good ways of getting a hold of us.